Good morning. Today we're going to talk about Google Drive. This is probably going to be a shorter video, I hope, because we're going to cover the basics of Google Drive. We're not going to get into the more advanced features of it. We're going to get into how to use it, how to create things, how to share things, how to receive shared things, and a little bit of extra just to kind of make sure you have an idea of how powerful Google Drive actually can be for you. First off, we got to get to Google Drive. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here to our little app launcher, and we'll click it, and we can go to Google Drive here. We can also go over here if you have the app launcher on your browser. You can click on that, and it'll take you to your browser or your apps. And we can click on the Google Drive app if you have it installed, or simply we can just go to drive.google.com, and it will all three take us to our Google Drive. Now this is the plain Jane, this is what you see when you get into Google Drive. So let's talk about a few things that you see right off the bat. First off, you'll probably see your name over here, not my name. You also should see your image over here. It can be a picture, like I've uploaded a picture to my account. If not, it'll be your initials, or if you have some kind of avatar, whatever. But just make sure this is your Anderson 5 account, or you're not going to have all the same features that we might be talking about today. Next to your picture, you'll have your notifications. This is your Google notifications, not necessarily just Google Drive notifications, but any notifications that you might be receiving from Google. Google Apps, this is just your app launcher again, just like we saw on the Google search page a while ago. Then we have a grid view. So we can change from this list view, and we will see a grid view. So you got your boxes of stuff. A little bit easier to tell what things are sometimes. Then you can sort by various things. You can last modified, modified by me, last opened by me, or just sort by the name. Sometimes sorting by name is the easiest. Then you have your view details. This is a cool little feature I like a lot about Google Drive. You click on your information, your details button, and it shows you all the activity for the folder you're in. Now I'm in my Drive folder, and so it's showing me all of the information, all of the changes that have happened to the My Drive folder. Okay, that's under activity. If we go under details, we'll see the details on another one later. But you can see all the activity that's happened. So you can see that somebody shared something with me and then changed permissions on it. I can see that somebody edited an item that I have in my Drive somewhere, probably something that was shared with me. We can see all kinds of things in here, and you can see who did it, when they did it, and what they changed or what they added. And if that gets to be too busy for you, you can always hit the X button and it goes away. And if you ever want it back, you click the information, little I button, and it comes back. The last thing we have up here on the right hand side is our settings button. Now, let's go ahead and go through this. We'll click on settings, and we will click on the word settings, and it will take us to this screen. Okay, it tells us a couple things. It tells us, one, how much we've used. Now don't worry about it. If you're in your Anderson 5 account, you have 1 terabyte of memory available to you. I think it's 1 terabyte. It might be 5. You have a lot of available space. It would take more than the average person to fill up a terabyte in less than a couple of years. Let's just put it that way. You also have whether or not you automatically convert uploads. Now go ahead and check that box, and I'll tell you why. If you're going to be using Google, and you're going to be using Google Classroom or Google Docs in your class, or even if you're sharing out stuff with Apara or any other learning management system, go ahead and convert your uploaded files to a Google Doc. That way it makes it easier when the students receive those files. They can work straight in Google Docs or slides or sheets or whatever it is, instead of having to convert that over to a Google document. It saves the students a step, and this will do it automatically, so it's a check it and forget it kind of setting. Language, If you teach a foreign language or are more proficient in another language, you can change your languages here. Offline settings are located right here. I'm not logged in correctly, so we're not seeing that, but you can manage your offline settings right there. You can also manage your apps by clicking on Manage Apps in the same settings. So you can go through in any kind of app that you've installed, like I've installed Flubaroo, you can go through here and make some changes to it and whatnot. But once we basically have convert uploaded files to Google Docs editor format, that's all we really need to mess around with in settings. So we'll click Done, and we come back to our main screen. That's the stuff in the top right. Let's go to the top left. If you're in your Anderson 5 account, you will see the little Anderson 5 logo. That just kind of helps you remind you in case you're working out of your personal Gmail account, Google Drive, or if you're in your Anderson 5. It's kind of handy to have that there and know that, oh yeah, that's my Anderson 5. Below that is just the Drive logo. If you click it, it takes you back to your home Drive page. Nothing special there. Then we have My Drive with the drop-down menu. And below that we have New with a very, very similar drop-down menu. We can make a new folder. We can upload files. We can upload a whole folder. We can create new files. We can create, and that's not clickable. It opens up another submenu. We can create a Google Doc, a Google Sheet, a Google Slide, a Google Form, Google Drawings. We can make a Google Map or edit a map. Google App Script, that's an add-on. The rest of these are all add-ons. So if you've installed add-ons, you should see them down here if you're able to create stuff in that add-on. So you're not going to see all your add-ons. You're not going to see all of your apps, but anything that you can use in Google Drive, anything that's connected to Google Drive so it's usable through that. It'll give you the option in here. You get the same over here. If you click More, you can make the exact same stuff over here. Now, I have Word document, Excel document, and PowerPoint document in my Google Drive because of an add-on. And I'll show you that add-on later, okay? So don't get excited, oh, I can make Word documents in Google Drive. Not really, okay? I'll show you that add-on. It's a handy little add-on, but it's not, it doesn't come default. All right. For the discussion purposes, let's just create a folder. So I'm going to go to New and create a folder. And let's call this Google Drive Basic Folder. No, Basic Example. That's a good name. So we'll create that folder. And now because we have our sort as an alphabetical sort, it's going to pop in here where the G's go. So here's our folder that we just created. If we double click on it, it's empty. Obviously we haven't put anything in it yet. If we go back to My Drive, here it is. There's a couple things you can do from this screen with that one folder. If you right click on that folder, you get this whole new menu. So we can either open it with an app. Let's just say that's a folder full of music. We could open it with our music player. We could create a new folder again. But we can share this folder, okay? And this is one of the cool things about Google Drive. I can share this folder. So if I click on Share, I can enter people's email addresses. Patrick Strothman. So I want to share this with Patrick Strothman. Now, I can say if he can edit this folder or if he can just view this folder. A lot of times what you want to do is just let people to view the folder. You're going to put something in that folder, but you don't really want them changing anything. Give them view rights. Okay, if you want him to be able to add stuff to this folder, to change things that are in the folder, to edit the documents that you might put in there, give him edit rights. All right, so you can send him a little note. This is the example folder I was telling you about. And this is going to be the text of an email that he's going to receive if we leave this check box right here marked. Notify people via email. So if I leave that checked and I hit send, then he's going to get an email saying that Stuart Lee has shared a folder with you. Give him a link to that folder, and it's going to have this text in the body of that email. If I don't check it, There's no text to the body of the email because there's no email. It's just going to share that folder with him. Okay. We can add more people if we want. We can send them a link via email if we want to send them our own email. We can copy this link right here, put it in an email, give it to the people we've shared it with, and then they'll have access to it. We can change our privacy settings. So we can change that, and we can say anybody on the public web, so anybody in the world, anybody with a link, which is still public, but you've got to click a link to get to it. You can't just search for it and find it. That's the difference. Anyone on Anderson School District 5, so anybody in the district can actually search and find it. Anybody with School District 5 and the link, which means anybody in School District 5 has to be able to click a link to get to it. They can't just search for it and find it. Or off. And off just means that you can set specific people, and those are the only people that can see or edit that document depending on the permissions you have. So I save it that way. I just want to leave it as private. Only I can access it and the people I share it with. And then I hit OK, and it will share with those people. And because I'm not sending the email, it's going to ask me to make sure that I want to do that. Skip sending invitations? Yes, I want to skip it, sending invitation. He knows it's supposed to be getting it, and I'll talk to him on the phone or something like that. So I'm going to hit OK. So now it says that I'm the owner and that Patrick Strothman can edit. I can always go back later and change that to view. Okay? And then if I hit save, now he can view only in that folder. He can no longer edit in that folder. And then I'll say done. And so now, if you can see, I've got a little person. Let me click off of that. I've got a little person in the folder right there. That's just to remind you that it's been shared. Okay? So let's go back into our right-click menu. So we've shared that. We could always get the link. So if we want to email, if I wanted to email Patrick again, I could get the link right here and just copy the link by hitting Control-C. And now I've copied the link. I can paste it into an email and say, hey, remember that folder I shared with you? Here's a link to it real quick. He clicks the link. It automatically opens up right to that folder in his Google Drive. Let's get link. Move to. So I've made this in the root level of my Google Drive. But let's say I don't want it there. I want it somewhere else. So I can either expand my folders over here on the left, and I can click and drag it. But let's see if I want to get it in here and there, and it's kind of awkward because it's starting to move. It's too much. All right, I can't deal with that. So make it simple. We can click on the right click and then go to Move To. So when we click on Move To, now we have all of our folders. So I want to put it in here. So I double click that and it pulls up all the folders in that folder. And then I'm going to put it in Teacher Training and on Tech Tuesday, and we'll just leave it like that. So I'm just going to leave it in Tech Tuesday trainings. And I hit Move, and it's going to make sure that I want to, because that folder is shared, do I want to move it into a shared folder? Do I want to give everybody who access to that folder this new folder too? And I say, yes, I do. I know what I'm doing. And now it's no longer in our root folder over here. And it tells me down here in the bottom, Google Drive Basic Example has been moved from my drive to Tech Tuesday Trainings. So I can go over here to my IT folder, or even right here, and double click. And then I go to, oops, went the wrong way, Teacher Training and Tech Tuesday. And now I have Google Drive Basic Example. So that's a way to organize your folders. You can do folders within folders within folders within folders, just like in Windows, just like on a Mac. When you have your folder structure, you can do the exact same one here in Google Drive. There's still a few more things that we can do with this folder. We've organized it, we've named it, we've moved it. We can add a star. Well, what the heck is adding a star? Well, let's click it. We add a star, it puts a little star out here beside it. So now, let me minimize these so we can see what we're doing. We can go over here on our left menu and click on Starred. And you see, I've starred this document and I starred our folder. So it's kind of like bookmarking a folder. Something that you're going to use a lot, especially if you have several things that you're going to use a lot. Well, that's not good. You put those in here, and then you can just click on, real quick, go over here and click on starred, and it'll pull up all your starred stuff. So maybe it's very important, and you want to use stars as something that's very important. Or you want to use stars as something that you use all the time. Or you want to use stars for any other reason. Maybe stars are student work. So anything with student work, you're going to star. And that way you can pull up starred. You know, however you want to use that little flag, that little marker, is what you can use it for. But let's just say, you know what, I don't want it starred. I'm going to use stars for other things. I can just right click on it and remove the star. And now the star is gone. So now I've got to find it again. So we're going to go back into our root of Google Drive, and we'll go to the folders that we have it in. And there's our working example folder. So now it doesn't move it from where it is. If I were to add a star, it's still going to be here. It's just also going to be in starred. But let's just say we get all these gray folders, and they all look the same, and a lot of them are named Google something. So I want to make this one stand out. If I right click and I change the color, let's just make it a nice bright red. So now my Google Drive basic example folder that we're working with is red. So that kind of stands out, especially if I take over here and I look at the grid view. You know, I've got they're a little bit bigger than a different arrangement, but that red really does stand out. And let's say I want to make my Google Classroom purple because Google Classroom is kind of purple, and then calendar is, in my mind, a blue color. Chromebooks, they're gray. I'm going to leave them gray. You know, we can change all of these colors. Now, because I shared my Google Drive basic folder with Patrick Strothman, he's not going to see that it's red. It's still going to be gray for him. So these colors are only for you to use. They're for you to help you organize yourself. Also, it's the same as if I star it. Now that I put a star on it, Patrick Strothman is not going to see that there's a star on it. He would have to organize it his own self. Okay? There's a few more right-click menu options that we have. So we've changed the color. We could rename it. That's exactly what it sounds like. I click on rename. It gives me the option to name it something new. So let's just do that. I don't like basic example. I'm going to just take out the word basic, and now we got Google Drive example. Okay, so it changes the name. It will change the name for Patrick Strothman too, the person we shared it with. Let's look at the details. So remember the little details button over here I told you about? You can also right click and get to the exact same thing. Well, except it's already open. So we can see that I've been moving it around. I created it. I put it in this folder. I can look at the details, and it tells me who all it's shared with. Okay, all these people were already shared in my Tech Tuesdays training, which is why it asked me, am I sure I want to move it into a folder that's already shared? So I can see everybody that it's shared with. I can get a quick link right here. It tells me that anybody with the link, so I can get the link and send it to somebody else and add them to it. I can add a description. I can say this is a folder we created to make an example. And I click off, and now there's a little description with that folder. I don't put a description with all my folders. Usually I title them something very descriptive, so I don't need a description. But it might be good if you're sharing out a folder with a group of people and you want to make sure that there's no way they can confuse it with something else. Couple more right-click options. We can download this folder. Now, let's just say this is a folder that our students are turning in pictures or screenshots of work they're doing on their Chromebooks, or anything else that you might want to download and have a hard copy of. This is where you can do it. You can download it right here. You click download. It's going to prepare it. You'll see the little message down here. Download failed. There's nothing in that folder, so there's nothing for it to download. But if there were stuff in that folder, it would download it for us, and then we would have a copy of it on our computer. And then finally, let me close that. We have remove, which is exactly what it sounds like. If I click remove, we have removed that folder. If it were a file, we have the same options. We can remove that file. Now, if it's just a file, there's one other thing we can do. We can make a copy. So, if I shared something with you that you only could view, you couldn't use it, you couldn't edit it, you couldn't do anything with it, but you wanted to use it, then right-click on it and make a copy. And what that does is it creates an exact copy of that file and calls it copy of whatever the name was, but you own that one. So now you can edit that one. It is a 100% duplicate, but you own it and you can edit it. I don't know that you made a copy of it. It doesn't send me an email saying, hey, so-and-so is making a copy of your stuff, okay? So if anybody shares something with you and you only can view it, you can't edit it, but you really, really want to edit it, make a copy. Or maybe your principal or your co-teacher shares something with you. Say, hey, take a look at this. If you want to use it in your class, go ahead. Don't let them give you edit rights to it, because then you can make a change and it might mess up their lessons or whatever. Just share view only with people and have them make a copy. It's very simple, and it keeps you from doing a lot of work, and other people might accidentally mess it up, or they do a lot of work, and you never know how things could work out. So making a copy is the best way to do a lot of that stuff. And we can also remove this if we don't want it. So that's the right-click menu. Over here on the left, My Drive, this is just your folders, okay? Shared with me. Shared with me are all the files that have been shared with you, literally. Since forever. I could scroll through here for a long time. So, in that case, let's just look at what we can do. So, I don't even know what this is. This was obviously shared with me in some sort of shared folder probably, but I get a couple options when I click on it. I don't see this in my Google Drive until I click right here and it says add to my drive. Once I click that, then it goes into the My Drive folder. It'll be in the shared with me folder still, but it'll be in My Drive and I'll be able to manipulate it, move it, organize it how I want. Until I do that, it will only be here in my shared with me. Okay? Now, if I don't like it, I don't want it shared with me anymore, I can always delete it. That removes it from my shared with me, but it does not remove it from the person who owns it. I can also preview it. So if I wanted to look to see what it was, it'll give me a preview. I can also share this. If I have share rights with it, I can share this document straight out of my shared with me folder. I don't have to move it to my Google Drive to share it. Or I could get a link to it and put it in email or some other filing system that I might want to just put a bunch of links on or something like that. Over here, we have our details. Under details, I get a little preview under the details. I don't have to click the preview to get a little preview. I can get a little preview. It tells me about it. It tells me who made it, what time, when it was created, what it was created with, and then any activity with it. So you see, this document actually has a fair amount of activity associated with it. They were using it, I guess, in orchestra class. This is one of my students. Couple last things. On the left-hand menu, we have a recent. If you click on recent, this is all the recent stuff that you've opened, maybe not edited, but you've opened or used, and it's organized by time. So I can look through here and say, well, you know, I was definitely working on something October 7th. So I can scroll down here to recent and look at all the stuff that I was messing with October 7th, and it'll be right here. So if you can remember the date that you were using something, or you knew about when you were doing it, recent can help you find that. Or if you're like, you know what, I just had that open, I just closed it, go over here to recent and go right there if you have to dig through the folders to find it. Starred, we talked about starred. Trash, it's just what it is. Click on that. It is everything that we have trashed. So our Google Drive example that we've colored and starred and we put in the trash, it's now in our trash. Everything stays in your trash. You don't need to worry about deleting stuff out of your trash or emptying your trash can. It doesn't count against your space. And it's here if you need it. So it's kind of handy. I know for me, for myself, I've deleted something and said, oh my goodness, I really, really need that back. Well, in Windows, you delete it, you empty your recycling bin, it's pretty much gone. Google Drive, you delete it, a week later, you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't deleted that. Guess what? It's in your trash. You can go find it. So, the last thing we haven't talked about is the search. Google is a search engine by definition. So if I wanted to find something, most of the time I don't take the time to go and find which folder it's in, and especially since a lot of these folders I have, it doesn't look confusing now, but I mean, this is all a bunch of subfolders with subfolders with subfolders. So some things could get really buried in my Google Drive. So I could just search for anything. And then I can pull up any file with that name, any folder with that name, and it tells me who owns it, when it was modified, that kind of stuff. So I can find the exact same thing I want. Now, there's a drop down, so we can search and then filter our search. We can search by file type. We can search for only folders, or only documents, or only spreadsheets. So if we know exactly what the document is, we can search by those documents. Opens with. Well, if we have something that say opens with Pear Deck, we can look for all our Pear Deck stuff, and that's an add-on extension. If it opens with Google Sheets, we can look for those. Gmath, Flubaroo, anything with Apara. So we can search by a lot of stuff with what it opens with. Or we can search by who owns it. If it's owned by anybody, if it's owned only by me, or if it is not owned by me. Not too bad for searches. And then we could also search only Anderson 5. So if I know it's on Anderson 5, I know it's from another teacher at Anderson 5, I can search only Anderson 5. And that's for those publicly shared with Anderson 5 that you don't need a link to, but you wanted to search for it. So things like Cornell Notes for Avid. There's a lot of templates out there. Those would be something under Anderson 5. So let's just do that. Let's do C Notes and see if we find something. Lots of stuff with C Notes. All right, we have different C Notes by different people. Miss McIntosh use those in her class. But you see, this is only stuff in Anderson 5. So I'm only going to find things that people in Anderson 5 have shared with people of Anderson 5. So real quick, that's Google Drive in a nutshell. The last thing we didn't talk about is over here with our little gear icon on the right. Keyboard shortcuts. These are just shortcuts for your keyboard. Control-C is copy, stuff like that. You can look through these. Some of them are really useful. Some of them are super complicated, and I don't even know why they came up with a shortcut for it. Other thing, download Drive. You can download and sync offline your Google Drive. So then you can open it up in your File Explorer. So if I open up my Windows File Explorer, and I look over here on my left, I have Google Drive. So I click on that, and it has all of my Google Drive. Now, if I were to click on one of my Google documents in this Google Drive on my Windows machine, it's going to open up that in a browser tab because Google Drive doesn't actually open in Word or anything like that. But it's just going to slow me down if I do that. Here it is. So it opens that up from my Windows Explorer under Google Drive. So you just have to install it and then sign in for the first time, and it'll sync everything. So this is kind of handy sometimes if you want to manipulate like pictures or movies or other kind of files. You can't create any Google documents in this one, so it's a little limiting, but it is handy a lot of times to have it. While we're in this document, you can also move files with this little folder right here and then organize it that way too, like I showed you before. But all we did was we went to the gear, download Drive. It opened up this screen. You want to download Drive for Mac and PC. It knows which one's which. And then install it just like you would any other program. Close these. And I know I told you this would be a quick video. Turns out it wasn't. Sorry. But I hope that answered most of your questions about Google Drive. Oh, by the way, when I told you that we could do these Word documents, Excel documents, PowerPoint, that's Awesome Drive. It's an extension. If you do a Google search for Awesome Drive, Google Drive, you should find it, no problem. Install it. It lets you do a lot of cool stuff. Read the description, and you'll know what to do with it.